ladies and gentlemen, and all listeners, we're going to do extension on Women History Month. They're really making a lot of things happen, including we'll probably get the first woman to be on the Supreme Court. And they're fighting, but I think she has enough votes for her to be on there, and we probably know about that this April. As well as I said, we have an extended Women History Month. The women have really made a dent in our community. Even though we might not like it, we have to accept it. So one of our guests, a young lady, is going to tell you about Urban American Outdoors, what they're planning for 2022. So if we could, until the other two ladies get on the line, we'll go with Miss Candy Price.
No, one lady and one man, MC.
Oh, we got Eric?
Not yet. He didn't answer the call. We'll tell you now.
But who do we have on the line?
Candy.
Okay. We'll go with Candy. As soon as we get the other one, we'll get them connected, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Miss Price?
Yes.
You've been around a long time, and I'm very envious of you and jealous of you because you're cooking some food and I haven't had a chance to eat. However, I won't be able to get some. But maybe in the future. I did meet a lady that had a construction company that she worked up north in Alaska and also North Dakota. So she had all the different type of wild game. She said, what you guys do, they process the meat. That way you don't have that wild taste. And so she loves cold weather. But in the meantime, knowing you, and I used to get fed via you, but that's on a hold. So what are you planning for 2022?
Well, 2022 is going to be a very exciting year. Currently, we are planning to have our Urban Kids Fishing Derby throughout the nation once again. We had to kind of slow it down before because we were in the pandemic, and we didn't want to expose our families to any, to COVID. So we had shut those down, but we're getting started again. And our first one will be in Washington, D.C., which will be June 4th, I think, that weekend. And but the one for Kansas City will be June 18th. We've been doing that for the last 18 years, celebrating Father's Day weekend / Juneteenth. So when they just started saying that, it's a national holiday, I've always celebrated Juneteenth in Kansas City since the 80s. So it was always on function, but we actually do our Kids Fishing Derby that weekend. And so we'll be doing it at Spring Valley, which is right off 27th and Woodland, Brooklyn area. And we're going to stock the pond. We'll have poles. There'll be a little bit of social distancing still, but we're going to have a good time.
Okay. Have we been joined by the other callers yet?
Miss Scott is here.
Okay.
Eric is going to call us back.
Oh, okay. So thanks, Candy, because you've always been on the ball. Because you're a part of the Lincoln School world, and I am too. So we have a young lady on the phone who is with, heads up, our own, the Blue Chip Roofing Company. And this is women, who are extended show for women history. LaTanya Scott, welcome to Guess Who's Coming to Kansas City.
Hello, yeah, this is Eric.
Oh, we got Mr. Eric Weston of the Kansas City call. So we have three people. So LaTanya, did you want to speak first, or you want to, for the first time, yield to a man being first?
For the first time. You already know me, huh? Well, I just want to thank you for inviting me to join on today's call. Just a little bit about myself and my company. I own Blue Chip Roofing and Waterproofing. We are a commercial and industrial union contractor here in Kansas City. We've been in business for about 3 years. As of this month, it'll be 3 years. And we serve areas in Missouri, Kansas, as well as Georgia. So thank you so much for inviting us.
Now, what do you do that people instruction is, what action do you do that a person might not understand? You can just cut right through the chase and tell them.
Well, I'm a union contractor, and we do both the installation of new roofs as well as re-roofs for existing businesses or industrial buildings that also need roofs. And we also do repair and maintenance work as well. This is all on commercial and industrial buildings as opposed to residential homes.
Now, we're talking about roofing, right?
Yes, we do roofing as well as waterproofing. And we're a union contractor with Local 20.
Okay, just hold your thought. Mr. Eric Wilson, I misplaced your number. I said I have to have it because I wasn't going to have you lambast me. So welcome to Guess Who's Coming to Kansas City.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us about the leading Southwest newspaper. A lot of people, that is the only news as related to minority they can get and read every week. Tell us about when you started and what's the mission of the Kansas City Call newspaper for those of you who might not be cognizant of this top paper in our area.
We started in Mr. Franklin's vision when the paper was in 1919.
Wow.
And we are a voice for the marginalized people in the community. We are more of an advocacy newspaper than we are mainstream, which kind of cuts things down the middle. We have a tendency to kind of give you things from a different perspective. So we're in our 102nd year. I have been the publisher and managing editor now for almost 2 years. I've been at the newspaper for 20. I was mentored by Donna Stewart, who was the publisher and managing editor and owner. She owned it for a while, and then her two sisters, Gloria, took over the ownership, but she's remained there as the managing editor and publisher. So she was Miss Bluford, Lucille Bluford. She was her protege, so she learned everything that she's learned from Miss Bluford, and probably most of the stuff that I've learned from Donna, and just actually running the paper and trying to transition into the next generation of call readers to make sure that the paper doesn't die.
We also have
In and of itself is a task. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I know if I was going to say another person, we might say outsider, but he has an interest in this area. He's in St. Louis, Mr. Howard, folks. What are your thoughts and what do you know about the Kansas City Call or need to know?
Well, you know, MC, my name is Howard Folks, was read by Chamber of Commerce, and I spend a lot of time in Kansas City, and whenever I'm there, okay, I pick up your paper here. I think it's a nice, interesting paper. Like you said, how you report your news, and I'm looking forward to working with you in the very near future. And I commend you, okay, on taking on, continuation of the telling the story of Kansas City. But 102 years, you're very much to be complimented for having a great stand power. That's very much a compliment to you in your paper.
Thank you. It is, because it's an ever-changing industry, and people have written off print media because people want to get phones. So we have an app for people to get it on their phone, but it's just being able to connect to that millennial or that so-called millennial audience with accurate news. That is my biggest challenge.
Well, I'm old-fashioned. I like a newspaper, hold it in my hand. Just down that paper in my hand just makes me know I got the news.
And that's it. And most of our niche audience, that's what it is. They want a hard copy paper, a cup of coffee, they breakfast, and they want to sit through the paper and read every page, every article, everything in the paper, and then call us Monday and tell us
a newspaper. You can put it down and pick it back up wherever you want it to be at, and not to go online. You got to look for it. Not just
Right, exactly.
That's what I love the most about a newspaper.
Yeah.
I will get a subscription from you, by the way. I will get one from you.
And you know, another thing, the difference between hard copy print journalism and internet is we have a tradition of being, one, researching stories and being honest. We don't have to hurry up and get a paper or get something out that's not accurate. And I always point to the Kobe Bryant helicopter crash and how mainstream media outlets wanted to be the first ones with the story, so they ran out and put a lot of inaccurate information out right off the bat. And then we come back and then they have to retract that. Well, with print journalism now, you have to, in newspapers, you have to research and study so that you got accurate information that you're putting out in the community. And I pride myself in being able to do that and not just rushing out, getting something out to be first.
Quality.
Absolutely.
Well, I know one thing. One of Eric's late friends is back with us, and I never heard anything else after Mr. Bill Cosby is back in the news. Eric, you have any thoughts on that? Have you spoken with Bill Cosby?
Oh yeah, we talk about once every other week or so. He's doing well. He's trying to. I think people that are close and near and dear to him are telling him to just have a seat and just relax and enjoy life. But he really wants to get out and do something else in the media and on television. Still talking about buying his own network. We're trying to talk him into just sitting back and relaxing and enjoying his life.
But you know, Eric, when a man like that been involved for so long, the older you get older, you still feel that you can be of value to the community because you still have resources and knowledge that you can't find anyplace else.
I could barely hear you. What'd you say?
I said, when the man like Mr. Cosby has been around for a long time, and he wants to, get his own network. What he brings to the table is he has knowledge and information everybody else has to make it possible for him to get his own network.
Yeah, and they're not gonna ever let a black man have that much media power, and that's his biggest pitfall is just seeing that one, being able to afford to buy a network, and two, having a platform that long.
Well, we need him to join Oprah Winfrey, but also, Ms. Scott, is this news to you? Do you know about the Kansas City call with your company? How do you get your news? What do? You just wait for social media, or you actually, I know you bid on contract, you're in local number 20, and you're in that, y'all call it waterproofing, I call it roofing. And you guys have been out there. So what do you think about Mr. Eric Wesson and as well as Mr. R., who incidentally is on the line representing St. Louis, Ferguson, and all our listeners throughout the world?
I think it is just phenomenal that the Kansas City Call has been around as long as it has. And definitely, it's been a newspaper that I've known about since I was a little girl, being born and raised here in Kansas City as well. So I think he's done a great job, and very proud of him for the work he's done to continue the legacy.
Response, Mr. Wesson?
Thank you, ma'am. It ain't easy. Standing on the outside looking in, it looks like, oh yeah, this is a day at the beach, but it's pretty hard. But thank you, I appreciate that.
I am sure. Keep up the good work.
I have something that you might be interested in. It's about a person born in KCK, Charlie Parker, And the United Minority Media Association is going to play a lot of his music at their next two-day conference, the 16th and the 17th of September. It's called Yuma Midwest Southeast Regional Conference. But two stations and two media outlets. When I used to do my show from KKFI, they always played Charlie Parker music. And when I called Mr. Weston last week and asked him who was that playing, he said Charlie Parker. Now, it's come a question up that they have the bus down on 18th and 18th and Vine area. And Charlie Parker is buried in what's the name of the house? The cemetery, the cemetery out on Truman Road.
Oh, the one on Truman Road?
Yes.
With the big monument?
Well, they got do they have a monument there? I know they got one on 18th.
Is it monument?
They got a monument of Charlie Parker on 18th. Off of 18th and Purcell.
Are you talking about Highland?
No, Lincoln Cemetery.
Lincoln Cemetery, okay.
Yeah, Lincoln Cemetery. And I'm going to start talking about this. I think what they had, Forrest Whitaker, they had Clint Eastwood, and maybe you too, Eric, might remember, they played Yardbird out at the Glenwood Manor out on 97th and Metcalf. And Clint Eastwood brought Forrest Whitaker there. A lot of people just look at him and say, what? Sometimes the people in Kansas City, they don't immediately show that response you would like for them to show. The question that's come up, and there's a thought on my mind that I think it would be advantageous to have the Lincoln Cemetery and the family, of course, to give the approval to move him on 18th Street, and I know he had 6 black stallions on the hearse, and they put some bronze statues there that I think it would be advantageous to Kansas City, and that area was trying to build to have Charlie Parker there because his birthday is on the 29th of August, and people celebrate. Yuma's birthday is the 28th of August. But when I called Mr. Weston the other day, that's the music he was playing. When I was doing my show at KKFI, they played a lot of Charlie Parker music. And I've been listening to it, and I just, anyone's on the phone, what are your thoughts of something like that, making that transition from the Lincoln Cemetery down in the part of the town that everybody knows so much about him?
Well, MC, being a tourist coming to Kansas City, I think the consolidation of bringing him down there, to make him a part of that, especially with the Hall of Fame you have, the Musical Hall of Fame you have down there, and all the historical features there, would be a godsend for people making they visit Kansas City. It's all one area they can visit everyone at the same time.
Anyone else? Miss Eric, Miss Scott, Miss Price?
I'll go ahead and let Miss Price answer.
A move like that, I understand where you're coming from. That's an excellent idea, but you really have to talk to the family to see how they would feel about it, because they have a lot of different thoughts. The grandson, his name's Brian Parker, he has a lot of information that's never been brought out on Charlie Parker. I think he's writing a book right now, and he has some definite feelings about what has been said about his grandfather. And I would like to kind of talk to him to see what his thoughts would be on it. From a tourism position, it sounds like a good idea, but you have to deal with what the family thinks. And I know that he, like I said, has to definitely talk about how they've been left out as a family to talk about their grandfather in the true light as opposed to the information that's usually brought out by a lot of different people who didn't really even know him like that.
Right. And one of the things that I would think about in that is Lincoln, if we're talking talking about the same cemetery down on Truman Road. It has a lot of the black influential people there. You know, Mr. Franklin is there, for example. His wife is there. So that cemetery in and of itself has a lot of historical values in Kansas City because back in the day it was only two cemeteries that black people could be buried in, and that was one of them. And so when you think about that, I would like to see somebody go through there and clean that cemetery up and make it look like the cemetery and make it look historic. But I don't know if bringing him down on 18th Street would be just something symbolic for us, but what would the family think about that? And, you know, it takes a lot you have to do to exhume a body and move it like that. So, and then what's it going to do moving it down on 18th Street? I mean, how many people go by Lincoln Cemetery and go see him? And evidently the last time I went through there, it doesn't look like very many people go through there at all. So, I don't know. I would think that would be something that the family would have to endorse and support.
Well, true, but you have to get the family support of something like that. But in order to, and most of you got Lincoln and Highland, a lot of maintenance work needs to be done and be ongoing. But I was thinking with the lady that erected the statue, and then Forrest Whitaker and Clint Eastwood, they would have some impact if they wanted to do that, of bringing monies. I know it's to exhume a body. I know we got a situation in Ketcher, Arkansas, where a lady from Montana wants to exhume her grand aunt, and they saying it costs between $5,000 and $10,000 for them to do that. And this particular woman, you'll hear that name in the future. Her name is Miss Latimer Ethel, and Effie rather, and she been married about 100 years. And I think Charlie Parker, that's probably 1941, if I heard that correctly. But I just think the move would be tremendous, and for people of color, not limited to just them, would really collectively endorse something like that and building up that street. People talking about going to Kansas City, they talking about 18th and Vine. The actual song was sung back, they were talking about 12th and Vine, where I grew up for a part of the time at 1108 Highland. But the people, it's something we just need to generate to get Kansas City like they do on the plaza, like they do other parts of the city, where people collectively come together and make things a reality instead of just talking or dreaming about it.
I mean, it relates to a point. I know here in St. Louis, okay, we have a black cemetery that has a lot of, well, I say, first of all, has a problem with upkeep. And I think that's a problem that that we have here as far as a lot of famous people burying in the cemetery. It's not too far from my house out here, right by the airport. And in fact, it was kind of demolished a little bit, but it still retained a lot of its history. And it's been problematic to try to clean it up every year, and it goes up every year. So I understand about the upkeep of the cemetery is not that cheap either, by the way.
Well, I would think that the Park and Recreation Council of Missouri would be kind of overseeing or coordinating the maintenance of such a movement. And they do that on all boulevards, supposedly.
But by the cemetery is a different situation.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's privately owned, and in addition to that, you'd have to have some zoning changes to exhume a body and bury it someplace else that's not a cemetery. So you'd have that issue that you'd have to go through, and, that's a city property. You're talking about the American Jazz Museum, and that being a city property. And it's not like in Atlanta where Martin Luther King is buried in a park that is controlled by the city, where they take care of the maintenance and everything for it. I think with that would be an issue as well. So.
Well, you also got Lincoln Truman buried over at the Truman Library.
Right, but they had to do zoning changes to make that happen. And we're talking about a president of the United States versus a jazz musician.
Yeah, and that's federal dollars. They have a lot of federal dollars for, when you have a president, that's national. And I think Martin Luther King is actually a lot of the money that came from that, which is the National Park Service, and Robert Smith did a big donation as well for the continuation of upkeep or to preserve different things. But there is a movement to save black cemeteries all across the country. So there are money coming from the federal government in regards to black cemeteries. And historically, one of the stories that we were working on a documentary right now on Abraham Lincoln and the black people who were around him, to hear the stories that had never been told. And one of the things we did do was go to the cemetery there, because that's where all the abolitionists and the people, black people were buried, and they hear stories. So we're telling all of those stories. And you could be, a cemetery holds so much wealth of knowledge, and the people that are buried there and their stories that are never told. So we're telling a lot of that. And, there is money for that. If there is a committee set up, it can be done. It can be done here in Kansas City easily.
Ms. Price, tell the audience who you are, what you represent, and you're on a lot of national boards. But we know that Thomas Jefferson is Monticello, I think, and then you have George Washington and Mount Vernon. So those are two distinguished presidents. We're based on this conversation. And Ms. Scott, we don't want to leave you out, because anytime you listen to this show, you get some history, you get some, you don't get any bunch of stuff that's not true. And this is a good show, and we got 3 or 4 excellent presenters today, and we don't know how many people we got listening to it, but this is something that everybody should really get involved with and support. We're talking about the newspaper. We're talking about what project are you working on, Candy? You're the owner of what now?
The owner of Urban American Productions, digital media company. But we also produce a television show, Urban American Outdoors, that's been on since the fall of 2003. So it's aired nonstop, weekly, all across the country. Currently, we're on some different tiers. Here in Kansas City, it was running on Bounce TV. I think it's on 38 the spot now, and we're going to try to move it to a more convenient time for more people to see it again in the mornings. Because we have a big following. It's really crazy. People, love it across the country. And actually, we just there's ones in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, so the lieutenant governor there watching it. And the different representatives, and they're very intrigued with it, because we're doing conservation, we're doing climate change, which we've been doing for 20 years. We've been talking about all these issues that affect us. Social justice has always been intertwined into our programming and outreach, and bringing, black people into outdoors and the nature and conservation and growing your own food. So we covered all those different issues. And it's 4-time Emmy nominated, about 75 broadcast awards, and we work and we do recommendations to the federal government. They call us. We're on, the different calls that the CEC with Biden administration in the White House. So they come and ask us questions on how to do the diversity and inclusion and getting, our youth involved into conservation, environment, and all the pressing issues that we're dealing with now with our land and our water.
And Ms. Scott, where I guess you love for it to rain, because the roofers get an opportunity to fulfill a contract or do some work, and then you have Miss Price that goes out, and with Urban American, she sat on a lot of national board. Then you have Mr. R. Fowlkes, who is the president of the Missouri Black Chamber of Commerce. Then you have Mr. Eric Wilson, who print the news. So you got a conglomerate of people here that all could work together collectively and really get that true news out. A lot of people just try to showcase without getting the actual fact. Is that true?
Definitely so. I would definitely agree with that.
And you are who now?
This is Tanya with Blue Chip.
Okay, because you've been very soft in your wording, you know. Do you, these other people, our folks in St. Louis, you got Miss Candy Price in Kansas, you got Mr. Eric Wesson in Missouri. And this is a great opportunity for you guys to unite, as well as before the end of the show, you have to keep me on so I can keep up with the time. It's our show where people can wish to communicate with one another, make some things happen. So anybody want to say something, or Eric, and it's 3 men versus 2 women, and the women have a lot to say, and we allow y'all to say that. I just want to let y'all know that because we extended our Women History Month, so don't jump on me.
We're always looking for opportunities to work with others in the community and help in whatever way we can.
Well, you know, Latanya, you know, you work in, you know, in the roofing business, that's something that, you know, always is a seasonal business, you know, year round. And being a former union organizer myself, I know that, you know, there's a lot of federal builders right now in the Kansas City area, and a lot of opportunities here in the St. Louis area because, you know, you mentioned Georgia. We have some good relationships in Georgia with our chamber down there. You know, we have our Georgia Chamber, Black Chamber of Commerce there. In fact, they have a show that we start on our station here. Work with the Georgia Black Chamber of Commerce. So, you know, we could possibly reach out to you and do some collaboration in the near future also.
That sounds like it would be a very good opportunity, and we would look forward to doing so. And I know currently my operations manager, he's actually been working with Eric, looking at the Kansas City Hall building and identifying ways in which we can help them. So we're looking forward to that opportunity also.
That's a good thing. You always got to put back into the community. That's always, good. And that's one thing I know the union movements that over the years the unions always have been able to put back to the community, because the longer the community exists, the longer we can be here, and that's always important.
Mr. Wesson?
And I'm absolutely looking forward to, I think Jim has been looking, and he has some people to look at our roof on one half of the building that needs to be replaced. And I'm looking forward to having it done. What's her name? Martini. She gave me his number when President Biden was here, and we hadn't been able to connect, and then finally we connected. So I'm looking forward to doing it. I've got a building renovation project that's underway. One of the things about having a building that old, and a lot of maintenance and upkeep wasn't done to the building. So now it's all falling in my lap to try to get it caught up. And here's one of the interesting things about my building, because the hazmat people came in and they looked at some of the things, but here was one of the most interesting aspects of my building. And that is, I have mercury thermostats on the 3rd floor.
Wow.
And when the people came in and looked at the building, they said it wasn't, we had some mold and asbestos, and the asbestos is in the roof tar, and that's what they did back in the day when they used to do the buildings, and we had some mold in the elevator shaft. But those weren't the things that they knocked me on. They said, that was serious, but it wasn't that serious. On a scale from 1 to 5, it's like a 2. But here's where they were concerned, was the mercury thermometers. They said that if those thermometers cracked and we're down on the 1st floor and didn't know it, and the mercury seeped into the building, that they would have to tear the building down. And I was like, are you all serious? And they said, yeah, it's like, to remove that, we have to put on hazmat suits, we have to do all of this. And I thought, okay, when I was a kid, we used to put mercury thermometers in our mouth.
Yeah.
To take our temperatures. Not only that, when my parents switched over to electrical furnace and heaters, the guy came over, and I remember this like it was yesterday. He unscrewed the mercury thermostats from the wall and threw them in his toolbox. It wasn't anything that serious. Now it's a hazard. I have to have hazmat people come in and remove the thermostat. And it's just like unbelievable.
Here's another thing, okay, that you should probably consider, okay. Your building qualifies for state for the tax credits.
Yeah, I got them.
Okay,
I got them.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah, I got them. That's a lot more than it seems like, but yeah, I qualified for historic tax credits, and that probably gets you about 10 cents on every dollar, maybe. But it's a lot. They do a lot of paperwork and architectural stuff. It'll help in that, but as far as actual, like removal stuff, what do they call that? Remediation. It doesn't really cover a great deal of that because it goes back into the ownership of the building. And they kind of feel like the owners let the building get in that state of condition. So it's very difficult. It just seems like it's easy, but it's a complex project. And they move so slow. Oh my goodness, they move so slow.
Yeah. Yes, they do.
Where are we on our time?
It's 5:41.
Okay, I will get some time. But this is very interesting in how the people are listening to one another, including our future guests today. What do you see that you could do? Or I know everybody said we need this opportunity. Eric, I don't know, who is Jim?
Jim is whoever it is with the roofing company. He's the one that's come out.
Jim is actually my operations manager.
Okay.
And he's also my husband, and he was mentored.
He's your husband, yeah.
Yes, he was mentored by Walter Smith.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
and you went to Southeast, he went to Lincoln.
The other way around. I went to Lincoln, and he went to Southeast.
Okay.
Well, don't y'all say anything about my school now, which is Lincoln.
Lincoln.
Yeah.
Oh, and the Candy went to Lincoln too.
Candy, what year did you graduate? If it's okay for me to ask?
It was back in the damn days.
What year did you say?
It's always back in the day.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, okay.
Women, men never ask women their ages, okay, but I guess women can ask women their ages.
I was back in the day, too. It's okay.
Okay.
We can talk later.
We have a reunion here. We had a good reunion going here. That's nice. We got all the back in the day people here.
As the future of 18th and Vine in that area, and a lot of people look at it. I know when they have the crawls, the bar crawls like that, all people come there, and I know that Bob Kendricks is doing a heck of a job with the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. We got Deborah right on that corner. Well, I used to sell call papers when I was in high school. I bought them for 9 cents, and I sold them for 15 cents. And I knew that little slogan about Kansas City Call, and it's historical. And we had other newspapers. We do have the newspaper. We have the Kansas City Globe. We used to have the Kansas City State Globe, but it changed to U.S. Dispatch, and they deliver their stuff free to the churches mostly in Missouri, Kansas, and Oklahoma. The same with the Kansas City Globe. But we need something. We also crossing on the other side now on South 55th Street. We have Dos Munos, a bilingual newspaper. But we really need a lot of people. What I would do, I would be a part of the Kansas City Advertising Club because those big-time advertising companies go to them when they seek out placement. And none can exist without advertising or some type of revenue that can keep the ball rolling. And we need to do that. We need to get more people of color. A lot of non-people of color, they purchase or buy the newspaper or listen to radio shows to find out what they like to say you people are doing. But on the same token, we should be more supported. A lot of people say that we do not work together like other nationalities. So, one person defended that, the lady I had on the show last week with the Black Archives of Mid-America. But a lot of people know it's just like Eric gets out there, and it was always known as the voice of the community. Now, if he has a problem, if Ms. Scott has a problem, Blue Chip have a problem, I know one that's going to be very vocal going to be Mr. Our Folks up in St. Louis. Anywhere he can go, even though they ran him out of Louisiana, he's in this area to stay.
No, I was born in Louisiana, but I grew up in Vicksburg, Mississippi. You know, so really.
He's really down there, isn't he?
Oh yeah, and that's why I know all about how to survive. But MC, what was the slogan that you sung for the Call newspaper? What was that? What was that jingle?
The song? Mm-hmm. Oh, you think I can sing? Say, Kansas City, get your Kansas City call. And we said, somebody stole all my money too. Cause I used to go out to the call about 4 o'clock on Fridays to buy my paper and go out and sell them. And we had a route, and that was our source of income, selling the Kansas City Call. You don't know nothing about that, do you, Eric? Mr. Weston. Is he still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, you don't know anything about that slogan, or do you?
I don't know anything about what?
The slogan we used to sing, selling the Kansas City Call paper.
Yeah, get your call paper, get your call paper.
Well, I'm going to tell you like I told your photographer, don't quit your day job.
Yeah, I won't.
Well, we're having this conversation today, and hopefully it's entertaining, but the main thing is getting the facts out and giving people more exposure. And then it's like we extended, like also the month of March, not only it's Black History Month for women, but it's also history for depressed people. And a lot of them didn't know that, so anyway we can get the word out and keep it going out. But just like now, different people react to different things and they support different things. But today we got, I'll consider all you as business persons, and we just need to collaborate and make things happen. Or we can, now, do you need interns? Do you need volunteers? What is the need of our people that are on the show today?
So one of the things that we're doing with Urban American Outdoors, we have been fighting for, advocating for when I'm in D.C. and working with the different federal agencies like your National Park Service, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, Forest Service, all of the conservation groups, is trying to get our interns these jobs, or to get the they have internships. They pay good money, probably $18 to $20 per hour, some more than that. But my problem is that I just had a conversation with U.S. Fish and Wildlife the other day in our panel. We were talking about internships and what about direct hires? And so they have this internship. Because if I'm coming back here and I'm getting all our young people from our area, because a lot of times the Midwest is overlooked. They'll get kids from the Southwest, they'll get people from down South, and they get people from, the East Coast and West Coast. The Midwest is always left down. So if I want to get these kids on these good internship jobs, and then some of the jobs that they turn into regular jobs, they didn't pay 6 figures. I want our kids here to be able to make that. So I've been going back and forth on that. And then as soon as we do that breakthrough, I would like to reach out and get our youth off from this area, from the Kansas City area, and like where you're at, Ira, Ferguson, Missouri, and create a pipeline so our children can get those jobs and become presidential fellows. All these kind of jobs that we never hear about, but they're there. And I want our children to have that same opportunity and access.
We need to talk about that, naturally.
It's all going battle.
And also, one of the things that the chamber, we recently started a program with the Nielsen rating people, where they reached out to our chamber, to the National Chamber of Commerce, to see how they will start working with us, going forward. So, Aaron, that may be something that may be beneficial to you, but I'm kind of more about it. I can share it with you.
Ms. Scott?
One of the things that we need is just more people who are property owners and developers within our area so that we can continue to provide jobs, careers, upward mobility opportunities for both Black men and women to continue working in our community. That's something that's important to us.
Ms. Scott, go ahead, Tanya.
I was saying that there's a lot of money that's coming down from the infrastructure bill. There's a lot of money coming this way, and it should be going to you. So you can have training for our young people to get those jobs, those consistent jobs, because it's a gazillion dollars that we're sending out. And a lot of times our children, our young men and women are not here doing these jobs. I mean, it's a whole lot. So much money. That's why I was blown away how much is being sent back to each individual state for this kind of work. And you're in a prime position to, get some of that money and get some of our young people involved in it.
And that's what we hope to be able to do. That's one of the reasons that I started the company, was to be able to help young men and who don't have a young woman yet. That's one thing that we would like to be able to do, is to hire a young woman as well. Not just one, but many in the industry, to give them an opportunity. My husband, he was a union roofer for many, many years before going to the Roofers International, and it afforded us some great opportunities to be able to take care of our families, have health insurance, education benefits. We've got 6 kids, and 3 of them are in college right now. One's graduated. We want to be able to provide those same opportunities to other Black families as well.
That's a good thing with unions. We always give back to our families, and our kids. They benefit from our hard work. With their kids also. Matter of fact, one of the things that's taking place, Tim, I know you're aware of this, Amazon just unionized for their first shop in Staten Island, New York, the other day. And the other businesses right now, unions are starting to have a comeback because unions, make sure you get good paying jobs with benefits for your family. That's what our main base is, that we want our families to have benefits and workers to have benefits. Then when they go to work, they know the whole family is being taken care of, not just them. So if you're content with your family being taken care of, you're a happy person, you're a happy worker.
Exactly. We recently were in the Labor Beacon speaking just of that, of how the union has been very good for our family, and why we decided to be a union contractor even, because it's not easy to be a union contractor starting out, especially, so we felt it was important to do so just so we could be able to create additional opportunities for most, and I'll say most of our employees are brown, just like us, so we want to see them continue to do good things for their families.
It's okay to say Black, Black is not a bad word.
No, it's not. I said brown because we do have others that aren't Black.
Yeah,
so we are like 95% brown, 80% Black. So
people of color. People of color,
yes.
Yeah, let's get you getting going again. Okay, how can the community, how can this show today help your paper get more subscription? What can this say? How can we do that?
The subscription is not my real issue.
Okay.
We need to get more advertising dollars. We had, I like readers and readership and subscriptions, but I want more of a focus to be placed on advertising dollars than it is with anything else. Because I think when you get down to it, the cost of mailing out subscriptions, the cost of printing papers. If in an ideal situation, and one of the things that I did when I took over the paper was I put more of a focus and an emphasis on online readership. That was my drive because printing the paper is costly. What's costing me a lot as far as subscriptions is the post office doesn't deliver the papers promptly. So then I have people canceling their subscriptions when they get January's paper in March. And it's not just a one-time problem, one isolated situation. It's an ongoing problem. So in an ideal situation, I would rather be able to drive people to the website to read papers more so than printing papers. There's a segment of my audience that I appreciate that wants that hard copy paper like we talked about before, but printing papers and going through that process, and I'll say this again, and I'll say this till the cows come home, the post office is killing us. It is killing us, not only with the bulk rate fees that we have to pay, but also delivering the paper. And I'll tell you how our process works. Every Friday morning at 5 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the morning, we take a pallet of papers to the 18th Indiana Distribution Bulk Center. I can drive by there hours later and those papers are still sitting there. And you got situations where some people get their papers on Saturday. Some people get their papers Wednesday. Some people get them the following Saturday. And here's my problem where people call and fuss at us about it. If they miss somebody's funeral because they didn't get their paper in time, or they missed an event because they didn't get their paper in time. And one of the biggest problems that we have is the post office delivering papers like they're supposed to. But subscriptions are great. I'm glad to have them. They keep a cash flow going. But in an ideal situation, I'd just rather have people reading the paper online.
Unfortunately, the post office is getting worse, not better.
It is. And people are talking about, well, the guy that's running the post office is a carryover from the Trump administration. Well, if Biden administration knows that he's a problem, why don't they get rid of him? Why don't Congress get rid of him? I got enough readers that call me and talk to me about the paper. That should be enough to tell them that our post office is dysfunctional.
Well, and one of the problems is it's political. The people that Biden needs to put on the post office board, that he's nominated, to get rid of the joy. The Republicans are holding up right now. They're being approved to take those positions. And that's a problem.
Yeah, it's always a problem when the next administration comes in and it takes time for them to start moving the people around. We have to wait for Mitch McConnell and Congress to move on stuff. I mean, there are things that we're all waiting on to get done, but if the Congress isn't right, so that lies the problem. Is we got a bad Congress, and we need to get some stuff moved. And people need to go out and vote them out from different ones that hold up everything all the time. So when they are holding up the post office because that was one of the first things that came out. the post office is not good, and then people are doing their ballots. So we're going to have the problem coming up next time because it hasn't been fixed yet.
Yeah.
And also, unfortunately, fortunately in Missouri, the Senate is the one that we need to put these senators in. The other ones that approve the appointments to the different boards, that the president had to nominate, to get approved. So right now, we in Missouri have a chance to put somebody in right now, because we already know Josh Hawley, what he did is, and on most things, and unfortunately, Kid Bond is not Kid Bond. I'm sorry. Well, Blood is, he's about to leave, so we're not sure who's coming in there next. So it's time for people in Missouri to look at that at the election, their next state, the next senator.
Unfortunately, we're coming to the close of the show, so any information of how each one can be reached by another one or collectively will be a benefit not only to our listeners, but to the different people who either own or work for these necessity type of things, like the Call Paper, like the Missouri Black Chamber of Commerce, like Urban Outdoor, like Blue Chip, and I'm going to say United Minority Media Association. So let's get those numbers out. And I enjoy this conversation, and the people, they can retrieve this show. How can they do that, Ira?
We can go to our website, FrequencyUSA.com. You go to our podcast library, and a copy of this show.
You're welcome, brother. How you doing?
Okay, and also what I'll do for my guest today, Ken, you already know, I'll send you guys a copy of today's show. Once Scott puts it up, so you have a copy of today's show.
Thank you, Mike. It's been a good opportunity.
Yes.
Is that Miss Scott talking?
Yes, it was.
Okay, I enjoyed all of you for what time. I had a few problems. I don't know what I did with the numbers going over to 3210 Michigan to get my taxes taken care of. That's another building that's crossing. We used to call it Leoway Jones, but Lawrence A. Jones Funeral Home, and then they got the church right next to that. But we need to share things. A lot of people figure that the best audience is the church. They are important, but we need the other people out here to do things collectively. So do y'all have any final things to say to our listening audience?
Well, listen, my show every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. FrequencyUSA.com. Monthly to the Black Chamber of Commerce.
I'm Candace Smith. You can reach us at Urban American Outdoors. You can Google it. It has information and our phone numbers there. I'm available 24/7. And you can go on Facebook or social media, and we are there under Urban American Outdoors with Candace Price. And this is a great show. And any help that you guys need from me, I'm there.
Likewise.
This is Latanya Scott with Blue Chip Roofing and Waterproofing. Our website is bluechiproofingkc.com, and all of our contact information is there as well. Thank you again for the opportunity, and if there's anything that you need of us, please don't hesitate to reach out. We're happy to help you.
Eric Weston, call newspaper 816-842-3804. Thanks for having me on there. On your show today. And thanks for getting my name right, MC.
I was going to bring it up because I don't recall that. With me and my age, we don't recall a lot of things. And I did apologize, so I apologize again because if I got your name wrong, it'd be a dirty name, so that ain't right. Anyway, thank you for listening to Guess Who's Coming to Kansas City. And we are rebuilding our website, which is UMMA, UMMA, HQ, KC1.org, and we do have some important events coming up, like Eric, like Candy, and Miss Scott. Hopefully, rest of them. We're a membership organization, and we got some events coming up, and we want our minority papers to start sharing it. Where I understand the store, they'll do as much as they should, but we're interested in reaching the people. Not only people of color, but all people. So if you want to reach me, it's 822-8866. The cell number is 816-694-2273. And I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Tell your friends we got some events coming up. If we need to put you in there, we need to do that. Don't hesitate calling us. Thank you very much. And it's time for us. Do we have any more time, or are we over our time?
Over our time.
Thank you for